Welcome back, everyone, to R2Kast number 54. And just before I introduce who we've got today, I'm going to do the same as I did last week, and I'll probably do next week, and I think I'll actually do the week after that as well. I am not in my flat in Dumfries. I am at the mum and dad's house on Arran. So there's a few things that could happen. We have got a guest in the B&B. He's probably sick of me talking so loud. He might knock the door. The cats might appear. Mum and dad might appear. The clock will almost definitely go off, and the phone might go off as well. So if any of that stuff happens, I apologise. I'm telling you this, but you probably won't see it, so I'm probably more apologising to our guest who will actually notice it, and I'll not have edited it out by then. But today is an exciting day, as is every R2Kast, because we meet some fantastic people on this show. However, today is the start of 2 weeks of TikTok stardom. Next week we have Katie Shanahan, but this week we have who I think personally is one of the funniest people on the ag space. I really do. She is absolutely fantastic, and I will welcome her now, Charlotte Ashley Farms. Charlotte, would you like to say hello?
Hello, how are you?
Very well. Before we get on into another excellent episode of the R2Kast, I would just like to thank the sponsor for the show today, The Scottish Farmer, a weekly magazine highlighting everything you need to know regarding the Scottish agricultural industry. Whether it's breaking news, events happening in the sector, market reports, classified ads, or just wholesome stories happening in the industry, the Scottish Farmer's got it for you. And all the more excited to have you on. I mean, this is just this has been a whole 4 weeks in the making. It has been made that sound so less impressive by saying 4 weeks. I should have said this has been forever in the making. 2 years in the making. This is it. I only created the podcast for this, but Charlotte and I first met at the Highland Show on the cattle lines. Now, last week we spoke with Jane Harrower, and Jane Harrower made a few comments about the fact that I had at least one Ribenas at the Highland Show. And so we won't get into too much of how many beverages I might have had that night, but it was myself, Charlotte, Emma Gray, and Ewan Irvin. So I was very much rubbing shoulders with the stars. But Charlotte, could you tell us a little bit about yourself? Maybe are you from farming? Was farming always a thing you were interested in? That sort of thing.
No, farming was not something I was interested in ever. I grew up in the middle of Preston, and we had 2 horses. So I was quite, I was an outdoorsy kind of girl. And then I honestly lost interest when I became a teenager, and then I got thrown into farming by my other half, Roy, who's outside working. Have to drop that in there because I'm sat in here not working. But yeah, I moved in 2009 to Cumbria, and I was literally thrown in at the deep end, and I got told, go mother that calf on, and get the gate. So I used to work as a carer. And in between my breaks and my tea times and things like that, I would go and we would go on the farm, and I would help on the farm. And then in 2019, we ended up finishing at the family business, which was a garage, and we already had this farm, and now we're both full-time here, which is absolutely amazing. Like, just to be like working together, and I say that with a pinch of salt. But no, working together is absolutely amazing, and it's made such a difference to be able to be doing this together instead of just part-time and after work and things, which makes it extra hard work, but it makes you appreciate the time you've got, I think, during the day.
Do you miss the other jobs at all?
No. I miss maybe I did enjoy care work. It was the most fulfilling thing, and you came home with a real sense that you'd made a difference to somebody's life. I don't miss the money. I don't miss the travelling. I don't miss the early mornings and late nights. Obviously, we've got early mornings and late nights here, but you're not out in a car in the middle of the night kind of thing. But yeah, I wouldn't. I'm so lucky. Like, I just need to get that across to you how grateful I am to be doing what I'm doing, because I absolutely love it.
Well, I love to hear that, and we'll get into sort of the stuff you post online, that sort of thing, later on in the podcast, Charlotte. But one thing you posted today was I can't remember exactly what it said. It's something about basically farmers are the last free people. Full-time farmers are the last people that are free. And I thought like, I've only known you for however long, a few weeks. I mean, 2 years.
Three years.
Sorry, 3 years, yes, of course, because this has been a massive podcast in the making. But you can just see that what you're doing, you just enjoy doing it. It's like you found your thing. And I love when someone finds that thing, farming in particular, when they had nothing to do with it. I mean, horses, yes, obviously outdoorsy, but for the most part, still really not farming itself. How did you meet Roy? It's always a fun story.
I met Roy at a party in Manchester, of all places. A friend of a friend was having a party, and we ended up in the same building. And I don't know how we ended up speaking, to be honest. And in the end, I ended up adding him on Facebook. We had a little chat, and then I came over to visit him. And yeah, literally the rest is history. We very, very quickly became an item, and then I very, very quickly moved in. Just because travel, it was just a bit of an issue. And yeah, I don't know, we just clicked. Like, we are the opposite of each other, like in every single way. Like, I'm not organised, Roy is organised. Roy's got a business brain. I'm an absolute idiot. Like, I can't even tell you how, like, we are the opposite of each other in every single way. If you know us, or if you meet us like together, you would suss that straight away. But yeah, we seem to work.
That seems to be what's really good for a relationship. A completely different, fill each other's gaps is brilliant. Yeah, I do quite like when you meet a couple and you're like, how does this work?
Yeah,
and it's almost the ones that work best. Yeah. Good stuff. Could you tell us a bit about the farm?
So currently it is a beef farm, and 2 years ago I got my own sheep, which I've been petitioning for an awful long time. And then we will be converting to dairy next year into the year after. So since we got this farm in 2016, I think it was, infrastructure's been put in place very slowly. And although it may look like an excessive waste of space at the minute, eventually it will come into its own, and we will go onto robots, and we will milk jerseys, and we'll just completely transfer over from beef to dairy.
So the plan is to get rid of the beef and it's completely convert. It's not to have both, no?
No, get rid of completely, yeah. And okay. We'll have 120 jerseys, and we will be milking on 2 robots, which it's always been something that Roy's wanted to do. He had the 40 acres next door to this farm, and they've had that for years and years. And we approached the fella about buying it. Roy's dad bought it, but on behalf of Roy's dad. And how it all came about, I have absolutely no idea. Literally, the stars aligned, and we ended up buying the farm and living here. And the fella that lived here before us, Tom Savage, he was an amazing breeder of Jersey cows, and we just always had it in our heads that we wanted to, go back to that, which might seem a bit of a fairy tale and a really stupid thing, but that, being with Roy, you literally reach for your dreams and you go for them. Like, there is no just talk about it. We tend to do whatever we're thinking about, which is quite good. So yeah, some God knows how they managed to sell it to us, and then we are putting it back to jerseys just like they did. Maybe a bit more modern though, with like ropes and things.
Well, for sure, but it's quite nice. Yes, of course, you're modernising. It would be mad not to, but there's quite nice, whether it's tradition or is the word, I don't know, but sort of see it go back to what it was. You mentioned you bought that. Is that all of what area of land is that? Are you owning everything, or is there some rented land? Is it all owned?
The majority of it is owned, and there's one field that's rented, that's not near here, and we just put sheep on that. So there's like 100 acres here at home in a ring fence, which lends itself to the the grazeway and the jerseys and the milking, which is going to be totally amazing. Like, you can't imagine something falling into place so well. Even the way the land's situated, the way everything worked, we're really, really pleased.
Excellent. And when do you think that'll be starting?
Next year. The sheds are up.
Excellent.
We've ordered the robots, and we're in talks with a dairy about getting milk contracts and things. So yeah, we're on the way.
Fine. Excellent. It's funny. I know you watch some of the R2Kast, Charlotte, but yeah. I know you're quite a clout chaser and you only watch the big ones. So there's one that I strongly advise you to watch. Is number 11, I believe. Kirsty Baird it's with. If it's not number 11, it's Kirsty Baird around number 11. I think it's not. It is number 11. And she talks about that conversion over to, they converted from a conventional parlour to robots. But that sort of discussion is really cool to hear other folk talk about it, and it might be quite useful for yourself.
No, very useful, because we know nothing about what we're going into.
For sure. And maybe not to give you a bit of a fright before you before you watch it, but she did call it 3 months of hell.
Nice.
But once that's done, you have the ability to have so much more management over your stock. And yes, there's that sort of course, you're in a parlour, you're constantly managing, you're constantly touching those animals, so you get much more contact with them. But you can use that time that you're not doing that to manage and to walk ground stock. So I love hearing folk talk about converting parlours, converting a system to something different, that sort of thing. It's quite interesting to see how, system X works where system Y was. It's really, it's quite cool. So 120 jerseys is the plan. What is the beef system at the minute?
At the minute, we literally we have Blue Cross cows, Montbéliard, things like that from dairy herds, Angus's. We put a Libby bull on, and then we literally keep the calves to literally to the bitter end. Not much left in them. We sold some today. They did trays really good, like really good today.
Good.
Really, really good. But they weren't the shapiest animals. They were more like big and square, which seems to be what people are wanting. So, we used to, years gone by, we'd be like, oh, look at that one's ass. It's really curvy. It's so petite and sweet. And it literally is big and
just to confirm, is it Roy or is this the beef cattle?
Both. Yeah, both.
Trade's an interesting one. A lot of people, quite a few people listen to this podcast. Don't mean to brag, quite a lot of people are listening now, and quite a lot of them that get in touch with me are maybe not in farming, wanting to get into farming, and sort of maybe new to farming, that sort of thing. And they've got a lot of questions about things that are happening. Now I can answer some of those, but trends and trades is one that I like to talk about sometimes, because 3 or 4 years ago, livestock products in general were in a pretty dodgy place. And I think COVID is always bad to say COVID is good, because it's not. I almost was in hospital with it last month, which is tragic 2 years on. But what COVID has done is it's created an interest in farming. Folk are buying local more. They're more sourcing products that are better in the UK, i.e. beef and so on and so forth. And it's great to see that trade on the right direction. Now, do you think that's going to stay for a while, or do you think we're going to see that go down, or what do you think?
I think it's actually, looking at it from a broader point of view, farming's had a private recession for the last 10 years, literally, and I think it is just seeing prices return to possibly what they're meant to be. I know everyone looks at it from the outside and goes, oh yeah, look at your trades flying. Yeah, it is compared to what it has been, but is that not just where it should be? Mm-hmm. I often tell, it's a long story to tell on a video, but Roy's dad would have bought auction as a Blue Cross bulling heifer and brought her home. If I were to go to Penrith now, I would be paying the same money, not a lot more, for a Blue Cross bulling heifer. So where's the trade? It's not really gone up a great deal from, was it 2007? I can't remember when Diana died, but it's a long, long time ago.
I couldn't tell you.
It was a long time ago. No disrespect to her.
Was it not 97?
Yeah, it could have been 1997, yeah.
I think it was, because I'd never heard of her really like live. And I'm 96. Well, I'm a week off 97. So
yeah, it will be. Yeah.
I think it is.
But that makes it even worse. It's such a long time ago, and the prices haven't risen in that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, we are seeing an increase in prices, but it probably is where they should be at anyway.
Yeah, I agree, and it's true what you say. Agriculture is a thing in the public eye for good reason. Everyone eats, but there's this sort of mentality of, oh, trade's flying, so farmers are minted. Yeah, trade's flying.
God, I hate that. I do. I hate that farmers are minted thing. If you saw my bank account, I don't mind telling you, I am full on skint. Like, we don't pay ourselves. Like, we don't from a beef and sheep farm, and we'll be carving probably 60 cows, and this time coming 160 sheep, and we do not pay ourselves a wage, either of us.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the case for so many.
Anything we do we roll back into the farm, because we're building a business, we're building a life, and we're also building a life for our children beyond that. So yeah, we do not drive a Land Rover. We drive a banged up old 05 ML. I could show you. Oh, it's not there. It's not. I can't show you. It's not there. But yeah, it's probably broken down somewhere, to be fair.
That's why it's not there. It's somewhere. We don't know where.
It will be. It'll be in a bit.
But it's true. There's this, oh, they're minted. But let's even say trade is double what it was 4 years ago. I don't think it is. I think it's about 185% of what it was 3 or 4 years ago. But let's say double. Fertilizers up 4 and 5 times. Feeds up majorly. Everything's still flying. So it's not just, it's hard to. It's unfair to say, oh well, they're making good money when you're forgetting the massive inputs that we've put in. But yeah, we're not. I think
being a farmer in general, Roy would say you're a slave to the petrochemical industry, and whatever they charge, we have to pay.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
you don't get a choice. You need, once you're in that system of needing fertilizer, and then even then, that video that you were referring to, I put on the other day. If you look more in depth about that woman, she talks about seeds in general, and the fact that the seeds were dwarfed so that you could put the fertilizer on and get the yield without the crops all leaning over and falling over and things. And it makes it really interesting to realize that even the seed you are buying has been designed so that you need to put more into it.
Yeah,
which is actually it's a little bit unnerving, but once you're in, you can't feasibly get out of it.
Yeah, and I mean, like, seed companies, one of the most famous sort of militant monopolies is really the way Monsanto in the States dealt with seed. They created their seed that, they owned that seed, and they owned where that seed was put and everything. And
oh God, yeah, slightly, yeah, urban, isn't it? To think that is the beginning of, all life kind of thing. Is the seed that you put in the floor, and it is controlled by a giant corporation.
For sure, yeah. Which
and
means
I'm not like some hippie, I'm not. It's just you have to think about it, don't you?
Oh, 100%. And I think, mention you're not some hippie. I've got the hippie thing in there. I've got, I have that sort of, I totally get that mentality, because I've got it a wee bit. But at the same time, there's pragmatism there, and there's realism as well. But yeah, you're right. I mean, at the end of the day, every single person on this planet is dealing with something a farmer's made, whether that's meat-based or non-meat-based. But yes, we could sit here and we could be negative all day. I like to try and maybe talk about that.
Negative? Never. Let's talk about the weather.
Oh, the wind! Oh God! Well, are you burning up at the minute, or are you okay?
No, we're all right, actually.
Yeah. What did you have the intense heat last week? Was it Tuesday?
Oh my God, it was. I don't think I've ever felt heat just like that.
Really?
It was unreal. Yeah, like I walk outside and it was like it was pressing on you. It was unreal.
No, it was. I mean, I think we hit something like 26 here or something. Like, it really wasn't that.
No, I won't even pretend I looked. I didn't. I was just hot.
Yeah, London was basically on fire. I mean,
it was unreal. We moved a lot of the sheep and cows around just into fields with more shade and better water and things like that, because we were slightly worried at how hot it was getting. But literally nothing moved all day. The animals just led about.
No, it was something else. Not enjoyable. And we're not being negative, but I want to say, in the winter, I never complain. I'm not a winter complainer.
No.
the summer's too hot. But do you, just when you mentioned that, do you have crops? Are you growing silage?
Yeah, just silage, really. Grass. Yeah, a lot of grass.
A lot of grass. Pit, I take it. Is it pit silage? I take it, and not bales, or both?
Pit silage. We used to be on bales only, and then a couple of years ago we put the silage pit up, and we've not looked back. We used to be making 1,000 bales.
Oh, really?
Like wrapped black silage bales. If I never see another piece of silage bale, like, to get rid of again, and then you like take them. There's a girl on TikTok who I watch in Ireland, and she her dad's in a wheelchair, and she has this little massey, and she goes like and reverses into the bales and drops them in the shed, and then she'll take the wrap off and the bale will all collapse on her, and I'm like, oh, when you've been there, and I understand,
Is this Kay Monaghan?
Yes, it is.
I think she's brilliant.
I think she's amazing. What a lass. Yeah.
She's something else. She'd be a good one to have on the podcast, actually. I spoke to Kay a couple of times.
She will, and she just seems so genuine and really, like, she tries.
And everyone's always like, why don't you get a new tractor? It's just like, why? I'm doing fine.
Yeah, I know she loves the tractor. Like, why would I need a new tractor?
I could change the world with this 135.
Do you know what? She won't be in debt like everyone else with the tractor, will she?
Exactly. That's it, exactly. Do you know, it's funny, I asked you that about silage, and then I realised I knew the answer because of your little drawing on the stone, which we'll come to later on. You said you'd petitioned for sheep. I get it. You said, you.
That's funny.
I honestly didn't even mean that one, but I'll take it. You said you petitioned for the sheep for some time. You got them 2 years ago. Now, I think you said you moved in 2009, so that was an 11-year petition.
It was a lengthy petition.
Has it been worth it?
All I wanted was a couple, maybe 2 or 3, just to follow me around like a little Bo Peep, that kind of romantic vision. And I got told, if you have 2, you might as well have 200.
Fair.
I still now can't see how this is working, because I am feeling that maybe 200 is slightly more work than 2, but I can see So the sheep were, they're actually, apart from me using the wool as a diversification away from the farm for myself, they are quite a strategic move within the, like, transferring over to dairy. Because we'll build the numbers up now, drastically build the numbers up, and I'll be lambing, 200 sheep kind of thing, which is a big undertaking, considering, I've only lambed twice. That is it. Like, and I didn't go to. In hindsight, I should have gone lambing somewhere. But instead, I obviously thought that I was absolutely, I'm amazing. I can do anything. I'm going to lamb all these sheep. My God, what a learning curve that was.
That is a fair undertaking your first time. Good God.
Oh my God. It was, but like I did the first year I had 3 die. That was about it. And I thought I was the shit. I was like, I am amazing. I've got this down. This is what I'm made to do. The next year.
I noticed you didn't mention the number that were dead for the second year. You didn't mention the number that were dead for the second year there, I noticed.
There was more than...
I just quickly apologise for the clock going off at the minute. I really don't get it. Right now is 7:30, and we've had 2 dings, and at 7 o'clock we had 1. I thought it was supposed to be 7 on the hour and 1 at 5:30, so I have no idea what this grandfather clock time thinks it is. I actually just want to quickly jump back. The wool thing's really interesting, but I want to jump back to the plan for the dairy. Will they be outdoors 180 days, or will they be indoors all the time? What's the plan?
They will be outdoors as much as possible. Roy's got it in his head, and quite rightly, I am behind him with this. He thinks that the way that dairy is going, it's going to be more about the space that the cow has, and like he calls it like freedom dairy, so like everything has access to outdoors kind of thing. And I honestly do wish he would actually engage on social media or on podcasts and things, because my God, he's clever. I can't even tell you how amazing he is. And he says, if you want to drive wagons and you want 5 wagons, you have got to go to the DVLA or whoever it is, I can't, like the wagon authority, and you've got to say how you're going to fuel those wagons, where you're going to store them, where your runoff for your fuel's going to be, and you've basically got to get a license for your wagons. Now, if you want to increase them wagons by, 2 or 3, you have got to prove that you have got capacity for those wagons. Otherwise, they won't give you a license, and you can't drive those wagons on your operator's license. I do think somewhat that should be transferred over to farming. It won't happen, but why do people get to have so many cows that they cannot possibly look after? Like, what about if some of the rented land was taken away? How are they going to feed them? Like, it doesn't make, when you've been in business in other areas, I think you come back to farming and you look at how it works. It's unbelievable the things people get away with. And even health and safety wise and things like that, farmers don't know the born.
I agree. And it's interesting you said you don't think it will happen. I do think that sort of thing will happen.
Do you think it will?
Yeah, no, 100%. Because, especially if we leave the EU, I keep saying if we leave the EU, we're leaving the EU, we're left the, I'm dreadful in politics, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
When sort of the UK starts to be the sort of body that's running everything, but in particular farming here, I think with the standards that we have and the standards that we market to the globe, we're going to have an objective system that proves we do that. Now, farm assurance does to a point, but, does it really is the real question there. And I think, like you're saying, you're going to have to prove your stocking rate, for example. You mentioned freedom. Yeah. You're going to have to prove that you're objectively reaching 5 freedoms, that sort of thing. And I can't see how it can't happen. I think it has to happen. You're dealing with an animal. At the end of the day, whether you like it or not, that the vegan argument is we are exploiting an animal for our gain, and that is the truth. Take word exploitation as you will, but that's sort of how it works. So I do think that'll happen, and I like the idea of so they have 365-day access outside. Now, obviously, not every day they're going to accept that, or will that just be maybe 8 months or something like that? Is that the plan?
Graze. So we're going to have a grazeway put in, which is absolutely grand, so we can obviously control when they do or don't go outside. We've been advised while they are in calf, I think it was, they don't get access to the outside just because there's too many variables.
Right. Okay.
So literally as much as possible, we are going to give them 100% access to outside. Yeah. We can do that basically because of the way the land's laid out in a big circle around the shed, and then it's something that we've not really looked into is, how we're going to graze animals, because at present we could probably do a better job of what we do now. We kind of graze it to the wick and then move fields, and then graze it to the wick and move fields. Like, that's how we do it with sucklers. It just, whereas you see people really taking the grazing seriously and making plans and how, measuring the grass, literally, maybe that's something that we are going to have to do. But it's just a learning thing, isn't it? It's something we don't actually know about, and we don't pretend to know about either.
Yeah, and not pretending to know about things is the best way to learn things. Because the amount of folk I know that pretend to know everything, so then no one tells them anything.
Yeah, exactly.
What's the point? Yeah.
Like, you go to people's houses, and like we love going around and seeing other people's systems and things. And I worked for about 3 or 4 months on a friend's dairy farm just to help them out, milking in the morning. And that was an eye-opener just to see how it was done, even physically, how milking was done, because it wasn't something that me or Roy had ever had any, apart from mothering calves on, which is slightly, obviously we know what happens, and we get the risk of getting your head kicked in, and you've got a calf that's stupid and its tongue's hanging out. And so obviously I think we have the worst job.
Oh, yeah, true. Yeah, for sure. It's interesting looking at the different options for grazing. Do you look down the set level? Do you look at rotational, or paddock, mobs, whatever? I think
it'll be paddock grazing.
Yeah, it'll be cool in 2 years' time to see what you are doing.
Yeah. Well, the Lely Centre Longtown is who we're dealing with, and they've got some proper specialists, who know what they're doing, and they're going to come in and advise us, where to put the fields, where to put electric fences and things like that, which is quite nice because it's something that we've never had any experience with at all.
You always hear Lely are quite proactive in that sort of thing. I've heard a few folk jump to robots, and there's a few different companies, but Lely's always the one I feel like offers a lot of sort of aftercare, that sort of thing. And they've got access to experts, like you say. Do you're obviously not in dairy yet, Charlotte, but do you have an idea as to where milk price is where you are, or not? Not sure.
Not a clue.
Not a clue. No.
Honestly, not a clue. We have got a dairy in mind, a Scottish dairy in mind, Jersey milk.
Right.
And there is the the Roe farm. Anyway, we spoke to this lady at the Highland show. Actually, it was a ridiculous story that I probably shouldn't tell, but I'm going to anyway. Roy was joking, and we'd gone in. We didn't realise Graham's Dairy had a stand or a shop, with all the milk and yogurts and things in. And we'd gone in just to have a little nosy. And Roy said, "Oh, go on, ask her how to become a Graham's Dairy farmer." And there was this lovely lady filling up, the fake cow so the kids could milk it.
For sure, yeah.
And I said it really quietly, but joking. I said, "Excuse me, Mrs. How do you become a Graham's Dairy farmer?" in a really ridiculous voice, without realising that Mr. Graham's daughter was stood behind me. So she turned around and honestly, she was such a vision, really striking woman. Red lipstick and white shirt and really smart. And she said, "Sorry, I didn't hear you." And I was like, "Oh shit." I said, "How do I become a Graham's Dairy farmer?" I'm thinking, this is not how I envisaged this conversation to go. I wanted to write letters, and it was terrible. And she was like, "Oh, I'll just get more egg for you." And she got the lady milking the cow. And we're in touch with her now. So hopefully they're coming down. You know what? Even if it doesn't happen and they don't want us, it's not, we are trying, different avenues. And I know Arla had opened the doors as well and asked people to apply. So we've applied for that as well, just to, get our foot in the door kind of thing. But it's something that we've got no experience in. We don't know.
No, and I love that. I love this jump in mentality. But as you said, Roy's pretty organised. You're both sort of on board with it. You won't be jumping in blind, but you'll be jumping in sort of even like you say. Let's say Graham's come and it's not for them. You'll have learned something from them, I'm sure.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's a win in itself.
I hope you've kicked your feet up and got comfy and enjoying another fantastic episode of the R2Kast with another really interesting guest. I would just like to quickly take another second to plug the sponsors of the show today, the Scottish Farmer, and I would strongly advise you to go out and pick one up this week and see even more of the fantastic people that are in our industry.
Just on the sheep, what breeds is it you're running, Charlotte?
We are running Texel crosses mostly, and then we've got 12 mules, and I'm putting on I was a Dutch spotted diehard fan. It's obviously the fashion. And
of course.
I put the Dutch spotted onto half of them, and then Roy got himself a little blue Texel, and he put them onto the other half, and onto the clins. So far we've kept them pure, but we're going to put the blue Texel onto them this time and see what they turn out like. Because actually, and I hate to say that he's right because he always generally is, his lambs, that I lambed because he's been nowhere near them, but his, Mr. I won't touch a sheep because it's a violation of them. His lambs are actually belting, proper tidy animals. So yeah, I think I'm gonna, the Dutch spotted girls that we kept back ourselves, so the Texel cross with Dutch spotted, we're going to put the Dutch spotted back onto them, just because I want spotty lambs. Just because I've started, I feel like I've got to see it through. But the rest of them are going to get the blue Texel on because it was really, really good lambs this time.
It looks like it pains you to say that a wee bit. I could be wrong.
Honestly, do you know what it's like living with someone that is always right?
Yes, I live on my own. Do you know there's a lot of these sort of fashionable breeds at the minute, your Swarble, your Dutch spotted, your whatever. I like the Dutch spotted. I'm quite a fan.
I like them. They're amazing. Yeah. They were really good to lamb, and they got up and they got on. Their heads were a lot smaller than the blue Texel, which I was quite appreciative of at the time.
Yeah.
But we started when we first got the sheep, we got 31 clins, pure clins. They're all pedigree and fancy. And then we put a clin tuck back onto them, and then we've kept a load of girls. So basically, we've got a really decent like flock of just clean sheep, and they are really good mums. They have proven themselves. They are smart, but maybe I don't want to be drawn in by the shapier lambs, but the Texel ones are really in the end they are the shapier ones, whereas the clean lambs all got away first. You know, they maybe didn't look the part, and they were nothing fancy and nothing to write home about, but they were all massive and they all went first. So I don't know, it depends whether you're farming for vanity or whether, I don't know, I've not decided yet.
It can't hurt to have a little bit of vanity, can it? Yeah,
no, I like it.
I wouldn't be who I am without as much vanity, you know. What was it saying? Yeah, exactly. I know. You've got to get through life somehow. I like cleans, whatever. LLEYNs. I'm sure, Will, if you're listening, do you know Cowley Hill Farm, Charlotte? Do you know who that is? No. Big.
I keep writing these things down. big YouTuber. Will Rewbottom of Cowley Hill Farm. I was that not the night? Did I not introduce you to him at the Highland? Or was that another night? Let's not get into the problems at the Cattle Lines and Highland show. But yeah, Will's big into clins. He's been doing really well at various shows throughout the country. And he actually did well at Yorkshire, which was excellent. I think he got a first in the clean section, in the Yow Lamb section. I think that was Yorkshire. Will, if you're listening, I'm sure you will be. You're a big fan, and you're a big fan of Charlotte, I know. So you'll be listening to that. I'm trying to think what podcast he was so you can listen to it. I think it was number 36 or no, 38. So that's another one for you. Well, I'm working at the minute because I'm absolutely like today. Right, I was like, I'm gonna go and have my little interview, my little Zoom, and he was like, "And what are you going to tell me about what you've done today?" And I'm like, "Well, I sat inside all day and did artwork." Like, and it sounds. But when I'm doing my artwork, which is the only way I get paid, I do listen to your podcast.
Oh, thank you very much. Maybe you'll accidentally, you know how when you're writing something and someone says something, maybe you'll hear my name and accidentally draw me. That'd be amazing.
Yeah. Draw me like your friend. Jack.
Yeah, well, exactly. Yeah, because everyone wants to see the fat bearded Scotsman like one of your French girls.
Oh my god!
Exactly. Yeah. Let's just turn that thought off entirely.
I love it.
Tell us about Nuisance.
Oh my god! Have you seen Nuisance's calf?
I have.
My god! So Nuisance, I think she's had 4 calves now. And she first stood out to me. She is, if you've seen her, she's nothing special to look at. She's just a Blue Cross cow, and she's square as hell, and she has got an attitude, like a proper attitude. And when she was a calf, I'd be scraping one side of the cubicles, and I'd laugh at Roy because he'd be on the other side of the cubicles trying to get Nuisance to move through. And honestly, he could there's a video somewhere and I can't find it. He could throw himself into the side of it and he would not move. This calf was absolutely defiant. Anyway, we encourage this behaviour because we're arseholes. And now we're left with Nuisance, who definitely lives up to her name. And literally, like, she must have a gene where she has like a double, you know, it throws back to the blue. Because if you put her with a decent bull, her calves are absolutely amazing. And she's such a good mum. And she is bags of fun. I do. And it's going to be awful because we joke about, oh, Nuisance is going to stay when the jerseys come. Nuisance wouldn't fit in the robot if she were to live with them. And I can't, like, honestly, I'll be absolutely heartbroken to have to get rid of her. But I'm going to try and find her a really good home.
Okay.
So she's not, I cannot allow her just to be sold like the rest of them through. It won't happen because she is special and she just is a big pet. And I remember Roy once getting rid of, I had another cow called Fave Cow.
Right.
Inventive.
Clever, genius.
And you could ride Fave Cow and you could shout her and she'd come up and give you a hug in the shed and things. And anyway, a bag dropped and she had terrible feet. And this was before I had any say whatsoever on anything farming related. And she was gotten rid of. And I just remember being absolutely heartbroken and saying, if you take all the fun stuff away, like, what are you left with?
Agreed.
You know, you're left with the shitty days where it's raining and miserable and you can't open the shed doors because it's so windy. And, you know, you need those little bits of fun to keep you going, I think. And Nuisance is definitely one of those because she is absolutely hilarious, mostly because Roy hates her. So that's why I love her so much.
She's on your side. She's on your side.
She really is.
You mentioned art. Now, I have looked at some of your art, and by God, it's good. You're very welcome. You're very welcome. But the first thing that drew me to your art, which I mentioned earlier on very lightly, was there was a chopper broke down. Am I right in saying?
Oh God, yeah. It swallowed a stone.
That's what it was. That's what it was. And you found that stone. Is that right?
Yeah.
And then
I was honestly so like. We've only, I think they've only been, and they'll listen to this anyway, and they're such nice lads, the Wilsons. They've been maybe 3 or 4 times, 4 times I think they've been and chopped grass for us, and everything's been fine, everything's been perfect, and we were razzing round, and everything's great. And the next thing, this chopper stops, and everyone stood in the middle of a field, and I'm going, what are they doing? Like, what are they doing? I had a child with me. And Riff is like, what they're doing? He's like, oh, it's just full of grass. It'll look stuck, you know. And next thing, he pulls out this massive stone. And I was like, oh, shit, because it's me that rolled the field. And I just felt absolutely, honestly, my heart fell out of my ass. I was like, shit, this is my fault. Like, if I've broken that thing, like, and they're worth millions, like, oh my God. I literally thought my world imploded. I was like, shit. So what do? You just take the piss. That's all I could think to do, because I was mortified that luckily it had just pushed some teeth out a line or something. Right. If you know anything about choppers, I don't know. Anyways.
Not enough, but that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, he took it home, nothing had broken, and he fixed it up. And then I painted his chopper on the stone and gave it to him as a present.
It's brilliant, though. It's absolutely brilliant. I think it's fantastic. And you've sat it in that field, haven't you? And a little bit next. Is that right? No.
I gave it to him, and it's on his fireplace now.
I thought it was lovely. I really did.
But I'd run it past Roy, and Roy was like, "You can't do that." And I was like, "Yeah, you can." And Roy was like, "No." He said, "I think because sometimes I do go a bit far and I'm a bit silly." He said, "No, I think it might be a bit insulting. Like, we literally nearly broke his chopper, and they're worth a lot of money. Like, it maybe is going a bit far." And I was like, "Oh, maybe not then." And then I ran it past his brother, and he was like, "Oh, hell yeah, give it him."
Yeah, but his brother was trying to hurt him, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he was. It was a bit sadistic.
No, I thought it looked beautiful, but then that meant I then clicked on your art page, and I thought, wow. So, have you always done art, or have you just started it on the farm?
No, I was really rubbish. There is a picture somewhere, I'll try and find it, of the first sheep that I did. Okay. When I first moved to Cumbria, I didn't really have many friends. I didn't really know anyone. And as you will know, the farming community is maybe slightly closed when you're a fresh girl out of prison. And I didn't really know where I fit in. You know, I was just a carer. And then all of a sudden you're flung into, you know, go and socialise with all these people who have farms and land and all the rest of it. And I was a bit out of my depth. So I joined WI, which might sound really ridiculous now, but they were the nicest, kindest people. And me and my friend brought the average age down by about 60 years. But we used to go once a month, and they'd have different talks and demonstrations, things like that. And one of them was on felting. And I thought, oh, I know some farmers. I could have a go at this. And that's literally how it started. I thought, oh, I can have a go at this. And I went and I got some wool, and I did a swabble. And it was bought by a lady on the other side of Longtown, actually. As well. And it was really rubbish. And I look at it now and I think, good God, how did she pay money for that? But she did. My first ever sheep. I'll have to get it back off her one day, because it's a bit of history. Yeah. And it was really rubbish. I'd do her a good one to replace it with. I'm sure she'd be grateful. But yeah, it's just, I didn't like the idea you start looking into these things, that wool is worth nothing. Mm-hmm. Like, I could go to a farmer and say, can I have a bit of wool? And they literally go, yeah, it's a pile in the shed. And they're not bothered, because it's worth really it is worth nothing. Well, 40 pence a kilo is what I've just been paid for mine, and it's gone to compost. That's the value of it. It's gone to make compost. And I think the wallboard's actually paying the set. I think it is 40 pence a kilo. So it's like 60 something per fleece, isn't it? Maybe not even that.
Well, if you're talking about that, funnily enough, we haven't had our wool check this year. We just finished about 4 days ago. But next week with Katie, I've already recorded the one with Katie. I'll tell you this again, but last year we sold 1,300 kilos, 1.3 tons, and got all of £12.
Wow. Well, this place, if you want a number, they Dalefoot Compost it's called, and they are in the other side of Askham, Cumbria, and they've been on Countryfile and things, and they literally make compost out of fleece, bracken, grass silage, and a bit of straw. That's it. They don't put any poo in, however, and it's won awards. It's all the flower shows and things like that. They're really quite into it. So yeah, they do take wool, and we just dropped it off, and they weighed it there, and then they make use of it. So yeah, it's worth anybody that did want an alternative, place to send the wool, because it's not actually that far from you. It's far from the farm.
It's far from the farm, though. But yeah, but it's interesting you say that. I mean, my mum uses a lot of wool, and actually in particular the black fleeces, just because of the way reflection of heat works, and lies on top just like a sort of like what's the word, like a film over the patches, which keeps the heat in. That's what we use most of our wool for.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think the market's getting better, but just while we're talking about Charlotte's art, I've got one up here that I just quickly clicked onto. I think it's very cool.
Do you want to see it? I've got one here. It lives on the wall.
Excellent.
It lives on the wall. Check, there's no spiders behind it. That's Sayeta, my favourite sheep. This is my first ever sheep.
That is insane.
She's lovely.
It's honestly amazing.
It literally is like just stuck on,
That is so well there. If you don't already, follow Charlotte Ashley Farm on Instagram, and as we're just about to get into TikTok, and then even more importantly from the art perspective, follow Charlotte Ashley Art. So yes, sure to do that. But yes, we have mentioned TikTok many a time. I think you're definitely one of my favourite TikTok accounts these days, because there is just nothing serious, and then when something is serious, I'm like, oh, this is good. There is a real heart in there, as well as just being a fool. And I'm sorry I say that, but I do mean it.
I know.
It's great fun. It's farming. It's showing true agricultural content, as you like to say.
Oh my God, you're not.
As you like to say, but it shows it with a sense of character. And like you said earlier, without the fun, what is it? So tell us about TikTok. Tell us how many followers you have. I said right at the start of this podcast that it was the start of 2 weeks of TikTok stardom. Now, that is because both Charlotte and Katie together have almost 200,000 followers, I think. So yes, tell us about TikTok. Tell us how you got into it, and tell us why you have so many followers. I know exactly how many you have, but I won't tell. I'll let you tell.
I have 89.3 thousand followers.
That is insane, first off, isn't it? I mean, that's almost 1/10 of a million.
Yeah, but do you know what? You kind of, it sounds absolutely awful. You see through the number.
You
completely.
will, yeah.
And that sounds absolutely disgusting coming out of me. It doesn't mean anything.
It can't. It can't mean anything at that size.
No, it doesn't. And people like silly things like the builder would come and he'd go, oh yeah, you're famous. Don't be so stupid. Like, what are things to come out with? It's not real. It is just literally a number on a screen. And I think I value the platform to have a message, and I value the relationships that you make. And I got a lad email me the other day. Actually, it was on Instagram, and he said, he actually said, a queer lad from County Durham, and you've made a difference to my life. And I was like, what? And I carried on reading. He said, lockdown had a really bad, effect on me, and this, that, and the other. And he said, I find a real sense of joy watching you every day. You literally do cheer me up. And I go on the internet on my phone just to find you. And I'm like, I showed Roy, and it was like 11 o'clock at night, and I, we're both a little bit drunk. And I said, here, have a look at this. And Roy was like, all right. But like, it makes it kind of worth it, because it does. I think people say, oh, how do you do it? Literally, it takes a lot of time. Was that
by any chance Mike Wilkins?
I don't know. Like, it might have been.
I follow Mike, and Mike's openly queer, and he talks about this and the challenges in farming and that sort of thing. And I love following Mike. It's great. No, but just when you said that.
See, the only annoying thing, I have one in my drafts. Mike Wilkins.
I think it's Mike SQ Wilkins, who I actually want to get on the podcast. Just haven't contacted them yet.
Yeah. When there's that many people, you tend to not look.
For sure.
Is really rude. So you do miss out on a lot of people. And then I'll be scrolling through, I'm like, oh my God, they're amazing. They're right up my street. And I'll go to follow them and realize that they already follow me. And I'm like, good God, they must think I'm like the rudest bitch because I don't follow them already.
But I don't think that's possible, because how can you follow 89,000 people? You can't.
Well, you can't.
And you said you sort of see through those followers, and that's rude.
Yeah,
I disagree. I agree with the seeing through part. I mean, I think it's something like 7,000 followers I've got or something like that over everything. And I literally notice if someone likes it and it's a different name that I've never seen before. Yeah. And 90% of the time I'm right. I'm like, they've never been here before. But if that flies to 20, 30, 40,000, you just can't. It's not that you care less, it's that you simply cannot do that. A brain can't do that.
I know, and I think I got to a point where I was replying to every single comment as well, because I felt I had to. And then Roy was like, "We put your bloody phone down," and we ended up not falling out, but nearly falling out. Put your phone down, and it wasn't because I was taking videos; it was because I'm replying to comments. And I don't think you can underestimate how much pressure you can put on yourself to keep up with yourself, which is just really silly. But then you fear that you'll lose the traction that you've got if you don't. It's a bit of a trap with social media. It's not really, it's not the most pleasant of things, but it has its uses.
I see what you're saying, and I know a lot of people talk about the negativity of social media and stuff like that, and I think Roy was right to say put the phone down, because I just quickly glanced when you were saying that onto your TikTok, sort of see roughly how many comments. Some have got 300, some have got 40. You would do nothing else, and Roy obviously needs you on the farm. Let's forget that, but that you get so bogged down with that in itself. I don't know if you've seen The Office US, but I think the last episode is brilliant because Andy gets so fixated on these comments online. Now, I know it's a joke, but that happens and people get ruined by social media. I personally try and use it purely from a positive perspective. If someone sends, but there is a way to get caught in that negativity and really find yourself having problems with it. But your TikTok is great. I really do enjoy it. But why that's the way I was going to ask that was going to sound so rude. I think I know the answer to this, but did something happen that made you fly up in followers?
I don't know. I started off originally. I've been documenting farming from right from the word go, to be honest. Even on Facebook, if you look back on albums and things, I was constantly, taking selfies with calves and stuff. And then gradually it progressed to where I was doing my own jobs and, talking about them. And then I used the TikTok just to make the videos.
Okay.
I didn't intend on posting them on TikTok. It was more to take the video from TikTok and post it on Twitter.
Right.
And that's what I was doing. And this is before I didn't used to put music on them. So obviously copyright didn't exist and things like that. And then I'd posted a video. This is such a long time back now, of a calf. It was a cow that wasn't meant to be a calf. And anyway, I'd gone in the morning to scrape these cows out. And the cow had just dropped this calf, big Angus cow. She'd just dropped this calf in a pile of shit, really, and left it. And she was just stood there looking at it like it was some kind of repulsive thing. So I grabbed this calf and I dragged it up onto the actual cubicles. And Roy was starting a tractor outside, and I don't know why I had it. I think it was mostly for friends and family. It wasn't for any reason, because I'd never really posted, an autobiographical kind of, day before. And I shouted, in this awful shrill voice, Roy, and but like I meant it, because obviously this calf was in front of me. It was freezing cold. It was literally limp. And I'm shouting, Roy, there's a calf, like this. And then Roy's like, what? And I shout, calf, like that. Then the next thing, I'm hair drying the calf. Everything you would do if, you had a hypothermic calf. And I don't know what made me video it all. Anyway, the calf ended up in front of the Aga, which was hilarious for everybody else apart from us, who knew the repercussions.
We've seen it a million times for sure. Yeah.
It doesn't really matter, does it? So we've made a tent over the front of it, and my mum came round and we were rubbing it, and we tried hard with this calf. Anyway, it totally lived. Took it back outside, and the mother took the calf. How, I do not know, because it had been away from her overnight. Yes. I know. She technically she shouldn't have taken the calf back, but she did. So I posted this video to post it on Twitter just to show my friends, because even though I've got not that many followers on Twitter compared to TikTok, but enough. And then I went back on TikTok to make another video a few days later, and it had gone viral without me knowing. Right. So I didn't know anything about keywords or blocking negative words, which obviously now if you posted any swearing, anything, murder, rape, anything that you could imagine having slung at you, it's filtered out of my comments completely. I won't stand for it at all, and I don't want to see it either. So it literally just disappears before I even get to read it. Obviously all of this came up, and you can still go through the comments if you find the video, and they are vile. So then, because these comments were coming through and I wasn't responding, the farming community on TikTok stepped in and they were sticking up for me. So it was like a battle in the comments, but I hadn't even seen it. So I was just like, oh my God. So when I went on, I was like, I remember going on and it was at 13,000 views. And I was thinking, oh my God, this is unreal. Like, my head was falling off. This is just crazy. It's now at like 7 point something million. So like it went crazy. And then the followers just gradually started going up, but they've just gone, there's been nothing that's made them shoot up necessarily, although calving time and lambing time, you do generally double your followers, because obviously life and death and gruesome things, and people love a bit of something that's, for gross. Sure. But yeah, I'm not that they've just gradually increased, and they are carrying on increasing, which is just crazy.
Yeah, no, it is, because some folk I've had Ginger Louise on, who you may or may not follow.
Oh God, she's hilarious.
She's absolutely brilliant.
Comedy. It's just, she literally is made for it.
Yeah, and she just talks and takes a piss out of herself, and it's entertaining. She's something like 170,000 followers now. There's two things there. Yeah, there's two things there. One, she's brilliant, but also her brother's major on TikTok.
Yes.
Yeah, Drew Meister.
Yeah, Drew is huge. Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, she said it was, because I just assumed it was like, TikTok, you put something up, something goes viral, it's like, and then, but no, you all sort of seem to be on this sort of steady path. Yes, something pushes that on, but yes, if you don't already, please follow Charlotte Ashley Farm on TikTok. It is hilarious. Absolutely one of the best ones there is out there.
The child had let the dog out of the car.
Well, I'll tell you what, if you're bringing the dog on, 2 seconds, I'll bring you. I know you're a big fan of this little man. 2 seconds. Jameis, come on, mister.
Yeah.
Come on, darling. Yes. What's this?
Stop it. Oh, look, it's the trained cat.
You're famous, aren't you?
We love an animal. We love an animal. Look at us. What's that? What's that? Oh, nice snack. Nice snack.
Nice snack. Don't you say that about my Jameis. Not a nice snack, are you? Yes, well, Charlotte seems to think James is trained, but he is not in fact trained. He's just...
He is. Like, he's a trained jumper.
He is a trained jumper. He is, yep, he is that indeed. But apart from that, there's not much more. Maybe we'll get there sometime. What we're referring to here is, I can hold my hand out like this and James will jump up from the ground and land in my hand.
Unbelievable. That's really clever. I can't even train Peggy to wee outside.
That's annoying. That's a nightmare, that is. That is a tricky one. But here, it has been class. Charlotte obviously met 3 years ago, which was 4 weeks ago,
Yeah,
and then 2 years ago.
long time ago.
So now we've basically met 8 years ago, and it has been a long time coming. And the other cat has just appeared. And it's been good to actually, follow you for a bit. I know you follow myself as well, and sort of meet the person is always quite fun. But you are a big fan of the R2Kast, so you know what's next. There is 2 questions, one of which is where do you see yourself in 5 years, and second is if you had any tips for folk coming into farming, which is a good one for you because you have come into farming. What would they be?
5 years time, I hope to have a wage.
Yes, helpful.
Very helpful. No, I see us in 5 years time. Maybe the building work has finally stopped. I think since we moved in, we have been living on a building site for an awful lot of years, and there's always been a massive project on the go. It would be nice to not relax, but just just live the life that we planned instead of always going for it, which would be amazing. Earning some money, which is always the aim of the game. I know people pretend it's not, but it definitely is. And for any people coming into farming, do you know what? Just enjoy it. Like literally throw yourself at it. I think don't look down on people when they don't know something as well. I remember a couple of years ago, it was actually a Gareth Wyn-Jones post. He'd taken off a community Facebook group, and there was a creek feeder with a load of bullocks stood in, and they were just stood obviously feeding in this feeder, and this woman had put on the group, what is this torturous device, it's awful. And I'd posted on and copied it onto my page and said, oh my god, this is hilarious, I can't believe people don't know what this is, how stupid is that woman. And in the end, all my friends from Preston commented on it. I don't know what that is. Like, what is it? I don't know what that is. And it was really bizarre to have to eat my own hat kind of thing as well. There was you shouldn't ridicule people for not knowing, which is where the education thing started coming from. It was my own stupidity assuming that other people knew what I knew, and they don't. They don't. And you get really good questions like, can cows walk up steps? It's a common question. I don't know why it's a common question, but it's a common question. Yes, they can walk up steps, and things like that. Or can you tip a cow over? Well, yeah, if there's a trough next to it and you go and push it, and it's.
I've seen so many of these videos of cows doing it to each other. Amazing.
They're assholes, aren't they?
Oh, I tell you.
But just never stop learning, but never ridicule anybody for knowing less than you do, because everyone learns, and not everybody is in a position where they've had to know what we know.
Yeah, totally.
Which is something that I had to learn, obviously the hard way, by posting it on Facebook. But yeah, just be kind. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it is so true. And have fun. No,
I like that. Yeah, definitely. You've mentioned that a few times, and I think sometimes in the farming community it can be quite bad for forgetting that. It's almost who's better and who's doing whatever. And I like the idea.
Yeah, definitely.
Of, what, let's enjoy this. And also, yeah, you're right, but be kind. Yeah, maybe it is cliched, but I'm an agricultural lecturer. I do podcasts. I do everything to do with farming. And you can bet your bottom dollar I don't know half the stuff there is. And that's the way it is. And the people that always make a fool of themselves are the ones that expect you to know everything, like you found.
Yeah, definitely.
And normally if someone says I don't know something, I'm like, oh well, I do now. And then they feel a bit silly because they're like, oh yeah, good point. So yeah, no, good points, I would say. Very good points. And yeah, it's been great to record. I hope you've enjoyed. Yourself. Definitely. Grand. Well, it's been great fun to have you on. And next week, as I've said a couple of times, we will be with Katie Shanahan, another TikTok star. And I know my favourite thing about this is Charlotte and Katie are massive fans of each other. And Charlotte has been proper fangirling in the Instagram comments over Katie. So looking forward to next week's podcast. So this is the 12th of August. We will see Katie on the 19th of August. Charlotte, it's been a pleasure. Really enjoyed it. And glad you did too. And we shall speak later.
Oh, thank you very much. It's been lovely.
Well, that's it. Another R2Kast finished, another agricultural mind opened up, and I would just like to say that getting these guests on board, it does take time, and it always has done, but I've now went weekly, and with that comes even more time required. And I would just like to finally thank once more the Scottish Farmer for sponsoring the show and making that much more possible. Please be sure to get in touch if you've any ideas of people you'd like to see on the podcast, or maybe ideas you have for me presenting better, because I definitely do require that. See you in the next one.